Good evening, everybody. How are we tonight? I hope you are just as lovely as I am. And as you probably know, my permanent kind of state in life is just one of loveliness. I lovingly float through the universe and I share with you all my good wishes and good tidings. And that's basically what my purpose on this earth. This is why God put me here to prance around and shower you meaning YouTube and Rockfin viewers, with just bundles of goodness. That's why I'm here. That's my solemn mission. Okay. Anyway, on a more serious note. I mean, this isn't really even a serious story that I'm going to be talking about, although it is serious in a way. Let me just explain it. Okay. So a few days ago, all of a sudden, I was being pestered, where else but on Twitter, by this journalist of some sort by the name of Nathan Bernard. And he and his little troll allies were demanding that I weigh in on a new revelation about a big campus controversy that was going on, because they had unearthed this really, powerful new info about how there was a censorship scandal going on at a small liberal arts school in Maine called Bates College. And the idea was, if I, along with some other online personalities that they mentioned, refused to denounce this alleged censorship at Bates College, we were being disingenuous, or we were withholding our denunciation for kind of sneaky ideological reasons, because we, and you say we, was like Barry Weiss, Glenn Greenwald, myself, and a couple others, we were total hypocrites if we didn't weigh in on this, immediately on this Bates College revelation, because we had in the past maybe commented or reported on other campus controversies. And if we were so concerned about cancel culture and censorship, why wouldn't we, dive in headfirst on this new Bates College issue and condemn the alleged censorship? Because the alleged censorship was purported to be of student journalists at Bates College who had been covering a campus unionization drive. And what was reported, blaringly in the Intercept by this writer, Nathan Bernard, was that the college administrators had aggressively and shockingly intervened into the student newspaper editorial process and censored them, and were stifling reporting on this unionization drive. So, when I heard about this, when I was kind of being badgered into commenting on it, my first inclination was, you know what, it's plausible that this happened. It's certainly not outside the realm of possibility that college administrators at a small school in Maine might have intervened in this matter and actually committed an act of censorship. And if they did, I would be happy to denounce it. Be happy to comply with what I was being demanded to do. But I said I would like to look into it first, so I can know what the deal is. And so I did look into it, and guess what? Turns out it's largely BS. um, because the Intercept, namely this writer Nathan Bernard, did not bother to do the most basic due diligence in their coverage of the story. They rushed out a blazing hot scoop on the goings on at this tiny college in Maine without verifying virtually anything of consequence. What they did effectively, and this is actually very illuminating as to how a lot of progressive media works. What I figured out is that they essentially just repackaged an activist press release and then released that as an Intercept article and called it reporting. Because the core claim of the article utterly fell apart on the most minimal scrutiny. Here's the headline of the Intercept article published October 17th, 2021. Bates College Administration censors student reporters covering staff unionization. Wow. If that were true, that would be troubling. that will be worth commenting on, even condemning if you are a fan of free speech. But that's just not what happened. That headline is false. Okay. And how did I come to discern that it was false? Well, it wasn't that complicated. I simply contacted the student reporters referenced in this headline. These are student reporters at the Bates College campus newspaper, whom the Intercept in this headline and elsewhere in the article are claiming have been egregiously censored. Okay. And it turns out that those two student journalists, who were the main characters of this article, who were the main people being referenced as victims of censorship, they hadn't even been contacted for comment by the Intercept. I mean, that's not even journalism 101. That's just like common sense 101. If I were covering a story, right, where I was going to posit that two individuals, whether they're journalists or not, have been censored, the first thing I would do, the first thing that would pop into my dopey little mind is to go and contact those two individuals and ask them if they were censored. I would ask them to explain to me what the situation was from their perspective. The Intercept didn't do that. Nathan Bernard didn't do that. And consequently, the entire premise of their article has crumbled. Because in my discussions with the two student journalists at Bates College, both adamantly and vehemently insisted to me that they were not censored or coerced on any level. That's what they say. So if the Intercept had done basic due diligence, which like even the most remedial, like half moronic journalists would have thought to do, they would have never been able to run this article. Because if they had quoted the two subjects of the article, the students would have told them that the premise was wrong. They hadn't been censored. They would have refuted the core thrust of the article. So it leads you to believe why. I mean, or it leads you to wonder, why did the Intercept and Nathan Bernard not bother to contact those two journalists? Were they in such a maniacal rush that they had to come out with this Bates College scoop as quickly as possible? Well, perhaps. Or perhaps they knew on some level, or they had an inclination that were they to contact these two student journalists, their entire article would have been moot. I don't know. I mean, that's left open for speculation, because as I was reporting on this story, Nathan Bernard, despite his initial pestering of me to comment, he stopped replying. He went radio silent, which is probably smart on his part, because I'm sure he would have beclowned himself even further if he had, deigned to reply to me. And Ryan Grimm, who I generally like, who's done some good stuff. He is an editor at the Intercept. He had responsibility or jurisdiction over this story. He continues to obfuscate and not directly address why the Intercept didn't do the most basic thing that you would do if you were compiling a story like this, which is contact the two principal actors and ask them for comment. They didn't do it, okay? Which is just bonkers. And I'm going to give you some more spellbindingly wild information on this story, which you can go read in the description box. But you are going to have to click over to Rockfin, which is in the description box of YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube. To rephrase, if you are watching on YouTube right now, there's a link to this Rockfin feed in the description box. You will have to go there and see the full video. And I am going to make that transition right now.